because I realized that if you allow too many of these individuals within your journey and within your process, they'll end up taking the process so much that it'll make you either give up or make you not want to do it anymore, because you'll assume that most people are like those type of individuals, when in reality they are not. But there are a lot of individuals, the ones who will reach out to you the most sometimes will be the individuals who will have the ulterior motives. Let's talk about it. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my page. Romellus here. I'm grateful for you to be here. I am looking forward to diving into today's subject and to today's topic. Just something that's kind of been on my mind, especially since it's something that's pretty near and dear to my own experience, something I've also been navigating, walk through myself. And I want to actually talk about the four top things that I believe I've personally learned with launching into entrepreneurship after being laid off. I've been following the market and seeing a lot of the things that have kind of been happening within the employment landscape here in the U.S. and across Western society in general. And the layoffs have been copious in this past season. So I know a lot of people are being thrown into situations to where, one, it's unexpected. Two, you don't really know what you're going to do. Three, it's overwhelming and it is disorienting. It's experiencing a loss of your community. It's experiencing a loss of a source of income, of employment. It's having to figure out a lot of things all of a sudden at once. So I want to share a little bit about my own personal experience and about what I've also learned and some of the knee-jerk reactions that I did and some of the things that I felt like I needed to step into in order to not only just survive and also kind of launch more into the dreams and some of the things that I already had planned for me outside of my personal job and career. But now what I really want to kind of dive into is what I end up having to do out of necessity and out of survival. So for my own personal journey, before I start into these 4 points, is I started my own business, not only because it's something I've always dreamed of doing and always something I've wanted to do, especially with this particular type of consulting work that I do, where a lot of it is dealing with, project management aspects or social emotional development and workshops and things of that nature. But I also did it out of necessity. The job market, as you all know, if you're anybody navigating the job market right now, is extremely difficult, more than I've ever experienced in the 17, 18 years that I have been working. It is exceptionally difficult. I don't even know how else. I don't really even have the right words to even put it into context how hard it actually is. And it's different than like, okay, you're applying or you have to kind of adjust your resume. It is like the amount of tweaking that you have to do to your resume. It's the amount of advice that you're getting. Do this, do that. You need to go this way. You need to do this way. Like it is absolutely overwhelming, especially if you log into LinkedIn for one day and just go through a feed for even an hour. And the amount of alternative information that you will be receiving is overwhelming. So I want to share four of the things that I've learned by launching into entrepreneurship over the past 15 months of me being laid off and launching my own business and launching into entrepreneurship, and some things that I wish I probably knew beforehand before launching into this process. I don't regret the process. I wouldn't change it necessarily, but these are four things that I definitely wish I did know before starting into my own business and launching this whole process myself. One I would say is, if you launch into entrepreneurship and you list it on your LinkedIn profile, or you list it, or you build a website, or you build anything where it's going to have public visibility, know that, one, it could possibly impact your job search. I wasn't fully aware that this would impact my job search. I didn't even believe that it even would. I just wanted to be able to have a name and put a name to the services that I still was offering, even despite not officially working for an official company. I still essentially took the same skills that I did: project management, consulting, and a lot of the, and organizational management and DEI and a lot of that type of work. And I put it all into a package and I began to offer it, and I offered it under the moniker of my business. And I began to offer and do these things, but I did not realize that hiring managers, recruiters, when they see founder or entrepreneur or anything of those of that sort of language, or you doing your own thing per se, that it will impact whether they decide to reach out to you or not. Because I found out on my job search that some hiring managers or recruiters view you as unhireable, or as somebody who's too independent, they don't view that experience as, oh, well, you've launched your own business, or oh, you've really actually honed in on your skills, or you've really taken those skills and you've made them adaptable, or you've taken these skills and you've been able to use them in other, ways or in other facilities. They don't view it as that, at least from my own experience. When I've been able to find out, they end up viewing it more so as a way of, you might be a little bit too independent or too kind of on your own, in order to be manageable by somebody else. So just know that if you do decide to launch into entrepreneurship and you do decide that that's the route that you want to go, that is something that you could possibly face in your job journey, because that is something I've experienced, not only from what I've been able to notice, obviously, as I've applied to jobs, but from the feedback that I've gotten back from recruiters and from actually asking hiring managers and figuring out kind of what am I missing here. So I've literally had to change the title on my LinkedIn profile from founder to just senior consultant. I've had to switch it at least 3 times now in order for me to finally get traction on my job search. And I begin to finally get hits once I took out founder. So just a heads up, if you do decide to launch out into your own part and you want to start your own business, just know that it will impact you if you are still planning on keeping a foot within the corporate world and still doing that. If you still need it for a source of income, if you still need it as a way to support your work, just know that if you list your business, it may impact you. Something else that I'll probably say, number 2 of what I've definitely learned is, if you decide to do your business the right way, it's going to cost you a lot of money. If you decide to genuinely get your LLC license or whatever route you want to go to, the S Corp or whatever route you decide you want to take with launching your business, it's going to cost a portion of money. Though the getting started and doing the LLC process is not crazy expensive. Obviously, I ended up using YouTube and using a lot of other like free platforms in order to figure out how to do it myself, and I was able to figure it out, thankfully, and ended up finding an agent that helped support me through the process the remainder of the way. But if you do decide to launch your business and you want to do it the legitimate way, taxes and that whole aspect, to make sure that you don't have any type of pushback or anything like that, it's going to cost you a lot of money, and it's going to cost you a lot of your own money up front. And if you are in a place where you just lost your job, you're just laid off, I would definitely say, I wouldn't change it, but I would definitely say, be very strategic with how you spend your money, because launching a business takes a lot of money and a lot of time. And yes, you think, okay, I can just do it all myself. I can do the graphics. I can do the marketing. I can, like, again, but what you don't really realize is, and what you don't account for, is the emotional bandwidth and the mental bandwidth and all of the other aspects that it all takes in order to sustain that long term. You may get bursts of energy in periods of time where you're able to go ahead and kind of knock those things out. But there will be times when you will hit a wall, because when you're trying to manage surviving, paying your bills, living life, applying for jobs, navigating your own ventures, trying to keep your own dreams alive, and all these other aspects, it can get very overwhelming. And again, when you add in on top of just the sheer cost of what it means, even for me, like launching a podcast, I think, okay, you just hit record and that's it. But it's so much more complicated than that. You have to pay for the RSS feed. You have to pay for the platform that you record on. You have to be able to house the content the hour-long episode that you record, that has to be able to be stored somewhere. So a lot of platforms charge you to store it for the cloud. You have to also pay for the platforms that will host the podcast. You have to pay for there's so many different aspects that you don't always fully consider, especially when you're like, oh, this is a dream and I want to kind of do it. So just know that if you do it the right way, it will cost you a lot of money, a lot of your own money. And if you don't have a huge built-in network or a huge built-in support, it's going to be a challenge. So just know that that's definitely something that will come a part of the equation. The third thing I'd probably say that I've learned on my own journey is, if you're going to launch into entrepreneurship and you're going to launch your own business and you want to offer your services, be very, 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 and I mean it as emphatically as I stated it, be very clear in your worth and your value. You will encounter a lot of people on your journey and a lot of people who will know that you're brand new within entrepreneurship. You will encounter a lot of people who will understand aspects about you, whether you're a kind person, whether you're somebody who they know they can kind of work with, whatever it may be. People will recognize those things, and they'll recognize things that you may not even be able to recognize. Because think about it, when you're in the weed of things, I mean, you're in the nitty gritty of figuring things out, or you're launching a business and trying to navigate all these other aspects, you may not be able to always recognize your needs and the things that you really need and things that just won't really serve you in the best ways. But I'm realizing other people sometimes will recognize that, and they'll also recognize aspects of desperation. So those of you who are launching into starting a business out of necessity because you have no other source of income or you have to do something, know your worth and your value, because there will be people who will recognize and also know your worth and your value, but who will want to take advantage of that, who will want to lowball you, who want to offer you less than what you're actually worth, who want to pay you beneath what you're actually worth. Don't get me wrong, as a new business owner and as a new entrepreneur, you do have to do certain things and certain hills that you learn that aren't worth dying on. And there are certain things that you will have to take cuts in and you have to make sacrifices in certain areas. But there are also certain areas that you should not have to make cuts and sacrifices in. And those are things that only you can determine and only you can set, and nobody else gets to determine or set that, because I realize that if you allow too many of these individuals within your journey and within your process, they'll end up taking the process so much that it'll make you either give up or make you not want to do it anymore, because you'll assume that most people are like those type of individuals, when in reality they are not. But there are a lot of individuals, the ones who will reach out to you the most sometimes will be the individuals who will have the ulterior motives. So be very clear on what your worth is, what you offer, and how you want to offer it, and what you want to do with that up front. Because if you're not, people will understand that and try to take advantage of that. And I would say the final thing that I want to leave you with, because I want to keep this video relatively short, is make sure you consider what's actually worth your time. And when I say time, I don't mean this project's going to take me X amount of hours. If I do this, it's going to take me 3 hours to allocate towards this, and then 2 hours to do this. I don't mean in that type of breakdown, in a very capitalist type of way that we've been able to kind of sector our time and our energy. But I mean, consider it in time in totality. Meaning, if I decide to work with this said individual, though they may pay me less, what is in the ultimate long run, would I be able to gain more by this opportunity? May not give me what I need financially all the way up front, but it does give me access to 5 other key stakeholders that I could possibly work with in the future. Or if I work with this partner or this individual who wants to collaborate with me, I can already tell that there's certain red flags within the dynamic, or there's certain things that don't really work, or there's certain things with how they're moving that are kind of rubbing me the wrong way, that aren't really settling with how I would choose and I would want to work. Do I honor those red flags up front, or do I continue to move past those and continue to engage in this? Because at the end of the day, what I'm realizing is all money isn't good money. And though you can move past some of those things, you can transition and kind of end up deciding to work with people regardless. Those things will end up costing you a lot more than time in the long run. They'll cost you your emotional bandwidth and your energy. And what often happens, and what I've been able to see with a lot of entrepreneurs and new people who are starting off in this type of work, is you get burnt out very quickly. It burns you out, because again, when you have to encounter this same sort of action over and over and over, and constantly have to keep resetting a boundary and constantly have to keep pushing back on these type of dynamics, it can get overwhelming. You may not fully be expecting the type of pushback and the type of work that it actually takes to really manage a business, and the amount of work that it actually takes for you to manage it solely, especially when you're just starting off. These first few years, I can totally, absolutely see why businesses fail within their first few years, because it's incredibly hard work. So, just as a recap, one of the 4 biggest takeaways I would say I probably learned from this is, if you do decide to go into entrepreneurship, just know that it's going to impact your job search. But that depends on how much you decide you want to share, if you want to put it on your resume, if you think I personally thought it was going to help my journey by showing that I'm still doing work and I'm not just, but I realize, again, it's all in the eye of the beholder, and that means the recruiter. However they perceive that information, if they perceive it as, oh, you don't have anything here and you've been laid off, it really is dependent on who you're working with. So if your goal is to be back in that world, just know that it will impact it. 2, if you do it the right way, it's going to cost money, and it costs a lot of money. It's going to cost you a lot of your own money, your time, your bandwidth, and so many things that you're going to have to give up for it personally. So I say that not as a discouragement, but as a way for you to be prepared and for you to understand what exactly you're getting into and how much it actually does take financial means and other means that you have to be able to be the source of. So be kind to yourself and realize that you're also sourcing a lot of other things from yourself during this season that you normally didn't have to do, that you had an employer that helped to carry that burden, or you had a partner, whatever it may be. 3, know your worth, know your value, stand on it, stand on business at every point and every chance you get. Don't let people push beyond your boundaries. Don't let people push beyond what your value and your worth is. Don't let people take advantage of what you know you're worth and what you know you stand on and what you stand for. Some people will want to take advantage of the season that you're in. They'll want to take advantage of the desperation or your financial needs, or try to offer you what they feel like you're worth. But you have to understand and know what you're worth, even if that means you not taking on every opportunity, because it leads me to my 4th point. Every opportunity will cost you something, and you have to consider, is it worth my time in totality? Is it worth my energy? Is it worth all of the other costs that are associated with it outside of time? Time is something we can't get back, but also you can't get back energy and all these other things that you end up losing by dealing with people and dealing with situations and things that may not serve you. So anyway, that's the extent of my video today. I want to share some of my thoughts on what I've learned on entrepreneurship. I still wouldn't change my journey. I still wouldn't go back and do something different. I'm grateful for my journey up to this point, and I'm grateful for the lessons that I've learned. So I will continue to share the lessons that I am learning and that I have learned up until this point with you all, because I wish somebody would have shared these things with me, and I took in as much information as I could. So if this helps one person, then it's for you. And if it's, for 100, then great. And if it's for no one other than me, at least it's something, again, to recognize the journey and to help people hopefully not give up on the journey, because it can be very discouraging and it can be very difficult, and much more difficult than what you actually imagined. But that doesn't mean that you give up. It just means that you continue to pivot and figure out different ways that work better for you and continue to stay within your lane. So anyway, thank you all for joining me for today. I'm really grateful. And those are the 4 lessons that I've learned on entrepreneurship thus far. I'll be sharing more of my journeys that I've learned over this past year and almost a half at this point, and hopefully look forward to getting more engagement. But I would love to hear from other entrepreneurs. What are some things that you all have learned, or some things that you've learned on your own journey, or some things that you would share with other entrepreneurs who are in this journey and in their own process of trying to figure it out? I would love to hear from some of you. So please leave some comments below. If this content helped you, if this content was interesting, if you feel like this content was something that you would want to engage in further, please consider subscribing down below. Continue to check out some of my other videos and some of the other content. And I would love to continue to stay in touch and stay engaged with, hopefully, and build and foster a deeper community of other entrepreneurs and other people who are navigating this journey, because it can be really isolating. So I want to curate a deeper community of individuals and of a like-minded individuals. So anyway, thank you all. And until next time.